On a humid Sunday morning in Montgomery, Alabama, a call came through to the police station, quiet and uncertain. Officers arrived at a modest brick home tucked away at the edge of a sleepy neighborhood, where children's bicycles lay abandoned on front lawns and porch lights still flickered against the early dawn. Behind the house, beneath the sprawling shadow of an old oak tree, they found her, Jasmine Carter, face down in the backyard, barely 31 years old, with no breath and no chance. To those who knew her, Jasmine was the kind of woman who made life brighter, the kind of friend who never missed a birthday, the kind of wife who believed in second chances. But in the silent hush of that morning, it became heartbreakingly clear no one had saved her. 3 weeks earlier, Jasmine's husband, Marcus Carter, had packed a single suitcase and left, not for a new job, not for a new life, but for Jasmine's best friend, Tiana Brooks, the woman Jasmine had trusted with her secrets, her laughter, her loyalty. The neighborhood had whispered about the scandal behind closed doors, but no one imagined it would end here, not like this. Was it rage that ended Jasmine's life, or something colder, something far more calculating? Today we retrace every step, every word, every moment that led to the morning when Jasmine Carter was left alone beneath the oak tree with no voice left to tell her story. Before we dive into the tragic tale of Jasmine Carter, a woman whose trust was shattered by those she loved most, make sure to hit that like button, share this video with someone who needs to hear this story, and subscribe to our channel for more chilling true crime documentaries. Now, let's uncover the dark secrets that led to Jasmine's untimely death. Before the headlines, before the betrayal, before the silence that swallowed Jasmine Carter's name, there was just Jasmine. Born and raised in Montgomery, she was the kind of soul that made others feel seen. The kind who remembered your favorite color, your mother's birthday, the way you took your coffee. She worked long hours at a downtown bakery, dreaming that someday the sign out front would carry her name instead of someone else's. Jasmine's dream wasn't riches, it wasn't fame. It was to build a little place of her own, filled with warm bread, sweet cakes, and the kind of laughter that came easy around her. She loved hard, trusted easily, and no one held a closer place in her heart than two people, her husband Marcus and her best friend Tiana Brooks. Jasmine met Marcus Carter at a 4th of July block party 7 years earlier. He was handsome, with the kind of easy smile that made you believe the world might actually be a good place. He told jokes that made her laugh until she couldn't breathe. He held the door open, remembered the little things. But Marcus carried quiet battles inside him, ones Jasmine couldn't always see. A man chasing dreams bigger than his follow-through. A man for whom money always seemed to slip through his fingers, no matter how tightly he tried to hold it. He loved Jasmine in the only way he knew how, but sometimes love isn't steady enough to withstand the storms it invites. And then there was Tiana Brooks, Jasmine's other constant. They had been inseparable since high school, two girls against the world. If Jasmine was the heart, Tiana was the fire, bold, funny, the first to speak her mind and the last to leave your side. Birthdays, heartbreaks, Sunday brunches. Tiana was there for it all. To Jasmine, Tiana wasn't just a friend. She was family, the kind you chose. And so when cracks began to form in Jasmine and Marcus's marriage, it was Tiana who held Jasmine's hand through the worst nights. It was Tiana who whispered reassurances that Marcus still loved her. It was Tiana who wiped her tears when Jasmine feared she wasn't enough, never knowing that the hands that comforted her might also be the ones that would betray her. For a long time, to those standing outside the windows of their lives, Jasmine and Marcus Carter seemed steady, not flashy, not perfect, but real. The kind of couple who hosted backyard cookouts in the summer, sent out Christmas cards in the winter, and always showed up hand in hand at baby showers and weddings. If there were cracks beneath the surface, they were invisible at first. The kind of cracks that only those who lived inside the house could hear late at night, like the slow groan of old wood under pressure. It began with money, arguments whispered behind closed doors, a missed mortgage payment here, an overdraft fee there, and Jasmine, who had always dreamed of stability, began to feel the ground shifting under her feet. Marcus promised he was handling it. He just needed a little time, a little patience. But as the months dragged on, time seemed to slip through their fingers like water, and patience, Jasmine learned, had its limits. Then came the late nights, work meetings that ran longer than usual, phones left unanswered, the faint smell of perfume that didn't belong to her. At first, Jasmine blamed herself for noticing, for asking too many questions, for wanting more than weary excuses and tired apologies. And when the doubts grew too heavy to carry alone, there was always Tiana, always ready with a glass of wine and a sympathetic ear, always telling Jasmine she deserved better, always reminding her that love should never feel like begging. Tiana listened patiently, faithfully, or so Jasmine thought. But behind closed doors, loyalties were shifting, and trust, the very foundation Jasmine had built her world upon, was beginning to rot beneath her feet. There were things Jasmine didn't know, couldn't know, little moments she never saw. A lingering glance between her husband and her best friend across the dinner table, a brush of fingertips too casual to notice, a private joke shared when they thought she wasn't looking. Each one small enough to dismiss on its own, each one heavy enough to drown her once they were finally pieced together. Still, Jasmine fought for her marriage. She believed, because she had to believe, that love was enough, that the man who had once looked at her like she was the only thing that mattered would find his way back to her. But sometimes betrayal doesn't come crashing down like a storm. Sometimes it seeps in quietly through the smallest of cracks, until one day the house you thought could weather any storm just collapses around you. And on a heavy August afternoon, 3 weeks before tragedy struck, Marcus Carter packed a single bag, walked out of the home he shared with Jasmine, and didn't look back. He didn't go to a friend's house. He didn't sleep in a motel. He went to her, Tiana Brooks, the woman who had once stood beside Jasmine at her wedding, now standing beside the man Jasmine had sworn her life to. The betrayal wasn't a thunderclap. It was a slow, cruel unraveling, and Jasmine, blindsided and broken, was left to piece together a life that no longer made sense. She didn't scream. She didn't beg. She picked herself up, she wiped her face, and she told herself she would be fine. But in the silence that followed, in the loneliness that crept in once the doors had closed and the friends had stopped calling, something else was growing, something neither Marcus nor Tiana saw coming. A grief so deep it had teeth, a sadness that clung to her bones, and somewhere, buried beneath it all, a question that refused to leave her. Why wasn't I enough? Jasmine Carter had been through the worst, but she tried. She tried so hard to rebuild. She sought therapy. She reconnected with old friends. She worked on herself, hoping that time would heal the wounds she never asked for. There were times, Jasmine said, when she could feel eyes on her, when she stepped outside for fresh air, when she walked from her car to the front door, like someone was lurking just out of sight, waiting. The unsettling incidents kept piling up. Once, while checking her mailbox, she swore she saw someone in the corner of her eye, disappearing behind the fence just before she turned. Another time, while walking down her street in the evening, she felt a chill crawl up her spine, the unmistakable feeling of being pursued. Jasmine filed a complaint with the local police. She told them she was being harassed, that someone was following her, watching her every move, but nothing came of it. No official action was taken. No one seemed to listen to her quiet, growing fear, and in that silence, the tension only built. The night before Jasmine Carter was found dead, she was seen at a birthday party for a close friend. In the photos taken that evening, she appeared to be in good spirits, as though she had found a semblance of peace, a brief return to the woman she once was. She laughed, she danced, she wore a smile that was still hers, though slightly more fragile than before. But by midnight, Jasmine was heading back home. The surveillance footage from a nearby camera showed her car pulling into the driveway just after 12 a.m. She got out, walked towards the door, and disappeared inside the house. Neighbors later said the night seemed quieter than usual. The wind carried a strange stillness, as if waiting. Around 2 a.m., someone heard it, a scream, sharp, piercing, that sliced through the otherwise calm night air. But no one called the authorities, no one went to check on her, and so the night stretched on unnoticed until morning came. A neighbor out for their morning walk noticed something unusual in Jasmine's backyard. At first, they thought it was just debris, a trick of the morning light. But then they saw it again, clearer now. A body, lifeless, sprawled in the grass. Panicked, they called the police. Authorities arrived minutes later, their footsteps cutting through the silence as they approached the backyard. What they found sent shockwaves through the community. Jasmine Carter was dead. Her body was lying just steps from the home she had once dreamed of sharing with Marcus. And there, among the broken pieces of her life, lay the unmistakable signs of violence, blood, forced trauma. Her life was brutally taken just steps away from the house she had once called home, the home she had once shared with the man who now lived with the woman who had betrayed her. In the days that followed the discovery of Jasmine Carter's body, the Montgomery police began their search for answers, but nothing about this case seemed straightforward. Detective Williams and Officer Harris, both black, were assigned to the case. They quickly zeroed in on two people, Marcus and Tiana. After all, they were the last ones who had seen Jasmine alive, and they both had motives. They brought Marcus in first. His story was clean, rehearsed, almost too perfect. "I was with Tiana all night," Marcus claimed. "We were at her house. She can vouch for me." The investigators sat across from him, watching him closely. He was calm, composed, but there was something in his eyes, a flicker of nervousness that he couldn't completely mask. Next, they interviewed Tiana. "I was with Marcus the whole night," Tiana said, her voice trembling. "We were in our own little world. I don't know why anyone would think differently." But the more the investigators pressed, the more her story began to unravel. Her hands trembled, her eyes darted to the door every few seconds, as if looking for an escape. She seemed to be avoiding certain details. There was something off. Then came the shocking discovery. Marcus's fingerprints found on Jasmine's back door. It was a detail that no one expected. The back door was locked from the inside when police arrived, so how did his prints end up there? Was it a simple mistake, or was it something more? As the investigation continued, another piece of evidence surfaced. A neighbor's doorbell camera had captured something chilling, a figure matching Marcus's build entering Jasmine's backyard in the hours before the murder. The footage was grainy, but the silhouette was unmistakable. Marcus's story, the one he had repeated over and over, began to unravel. The inconsistencies were glaring, the timeline was wrong, the alibi didn't hold up. But Tiana, she wasn't off the hook. The detectives knew there was more to this story. Could this betrayal have been more than just a crime of passion? Could it have been planned, cold and calculated from the very beginning? Was Marcus the mastermind? Or was Tiana involved in something even darker than anyone could have imagined? The pieces were falling into place, but the final puzzle remained a mystery. As the investigation progressed, a chilling pattern began to emerge. Marcus and Tiana weren't just hiding the truth, they were plotting it from the very beginning. Authorities managed to obtain access to both of their phones. What they found in the texts between Marcus and Tiana was nothing short of damning. The messages were clear, cold, calculated. In a conversation that took place just days before Jasmine's death, Marcus had written, "Wish she would just disappear. It would be easier if she wasn't in the way." Tiana, in a reply, had only said, "You're right. It's the only way this can end." In those words, all the mystery was gone. The betrayal, the heartbreak, was no longer just a story of a man leaving his wife for another woman. It was a dark conspiracy. Jasmine had become an obstacle, and to the people she trusted most, she was expendable. Investigators pieced together the details, the secret meetings, the lies, the plans to eliminate Jasmine once and for all. On the morning of the arrest, the police swarmed Marcus's new home, the one he had shared with Tiana. They took him in without hesitation. Marcus Carter was arrested and charged with conspiracy to commit murder and homicide. But it didn't end there. Hours later, Tiana Brooks was taken into custody as well. The woman who had been Jasmine's best friend for years, the woman who had been by her side through thick and thin, the woman who had once been family, was now charged alongside Marcus. The community, shaken to its core, could hardly believe it. How had this happened? How had betrayal gone so deep? Jasmine's friends, family and neighbors were left in disbelief. In the wake of the arrests, the case moved swiftly into the courtroom. The weight of the betrayal, the brutality of the crime, all laid bare before a judge and jury. Marcus Carter, facing the death penalty, chose to take a plea deal. He pled guilty to conspiracy to commit murder and homicide, accepting life without the possibility of parole. It was a deal that spared him from execution, but couldn't erase the years of pain he had caused. Tiana Brooks, on the other hand, denied her involvement in the crime. She pleaded not guilty, hoping to escape the consequences of her actions. But the overwhelming evidence against her, the text messages, the surveillance footage, the fingerprints, told a different story. In the end, the jury convicted Tiana of conspiracy to commit murder and homicide. She was sentenced to life in prison just like Marcus, but no sentence could bring Jasmine Carter back. Jasmine's family, though devastated, showed incredible strength in the aftermath of the trial. In a heart-wrenching statement, her sister spoke about the toll the crime had taken on their lives. "We've lost a sister, a daughter, a friend and a mother. But we will not let this define us. Jasmine was full of life, and her legacy will live on, not in the tragedy of her death, but in the love she gave while she was here." In the end, Jasmine Carter's life was stolen not by strangers, but by those she loved most. It's a stark reminder that trust, once broken, can lead to the deepest betrayals. Jasmine's story is not just about loss. It's about the impact of unchecked manipulation, the danger of staying in toxic relationships, and the importance of listening to the warning signs when something doesn't feel right. If you or someone you know feels unsafe, trust your instincts. Reach out, speak up. Don't let the silence of betrayal destroy another life. Thank you for watching this documentary on Jasmine Carter's tragic story. If it moved you, please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue to share these important stories and honor the memories of victims like Jasmine. Remember, justice doesn't stop with a conviction. It lives in the lives we change by sharing the truth.